world lost a good man of God today, and it inspired me to take pen and paper in hand and write these words to say, some folks talk the talk but can't walk the walk. Some folks talk the talk but can't walk the walk. But I tell you, Pope Francis did both, and he never fell short. I'm not Catholic or any religious sect. I'm not. Like Gandhi, I look closely. I see many good folks and a lot of hypocrites and hot shots. Growing up in Christian homes, I have a leaning for the teachings of the Christ, and I also can't find fault in Buddha, so I keep them both on ice. Me, I'm a simple man. I listen to what the great spirits say. Don't flop around like a chicken with your head cut off. It's simple. He says, just live in a good way. That's the whole ball game. Some folks talk the talk, but don't walk the walk. Some folks talk the talk, but don't walk the walk. But Pope Francis, he did both. I watched it. And he never fell short. He championed the teachings of the Christ, love and compassion for the downtrodden and the outcasts and poor. He spoke to the politicians, the billionaires, and more. And when he washed those feet of the prisoners, what? My mouth almost fell to the floor. I said, Alligator, you gotta stop. Watch this guy. Just chill. Because if he took the name from Francis of Assisi, those are some huge shoes to fill. Some folks talk the talk, but don't walk the walk. Some folks talk the talk, but don't walk the walk. Some folks talk the talk, but don't walk the walk. But I tell you, if you look at the life of Pope Francis, he did both and never fell short. Some folks talk the talk and don't walk the walk. But Pope Francis, he did both, and the man never fell short. He called out the politicians, the powerful, that's what he did. When I heard him, I said, Pope Francis, did he take his name from Francis of Assisi? He's got some big shoes to fill, and he did it. Some folks talk the talk, but watch them. They can't walk the walk. I decided after hearing that Pope Francis died, like I say, I'm not Catholic. I don't call myself a Christian, but growing up in most Christian homes, I have leanings toward the teachings of Jesus Christ. But I don't call myself a Christian, because I've seen some wonderful Christians, and then I've seen hypocrites and backsliders, and I'm not. I prefer the Great Spirit. He told the indigenous people, he says, just live in a good way. That's simple. That's like the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. There's simple ways to put it. But we're going to talk about Pope Francis and his life and his impact on the church, the world, and people like me. I know some wonderful Christians. I think of a foster sister of mine, Clara, and I know some atheists, my son's grandma. They both did what the Great Spirit commanded. Live in a good way. And I know I'm not going to get into all of this stuff because I don't want to piss any religion off or whatever. But let's just talk about Pope Francis. Let's get into it. I'll see you in a brief second. Before we get started or whatever we're doing, I'd like to remind you that please hit the like button and the subscription button. It doesn't cost you anything. It only takes a minute, and it helps me greatly. Okay, so if you could do that, I would appreciate it. Now this is Alligator in Alignment. This is probably the only time you're going to hear me talk about a religious person. It's just not something that I get into. Like I say, I have Christian leanings because of the way I grew up. But I have no problems with Buddha. And like Gandhi wanted to be a Christian. He read the Bible, or whatever, and he said that he was so intrigued with the teachings of Jesus that he wanted to become a Christian. And he went to the Christian church. I guess the British had India then. He went to a Christian church dressed in his traditional garb. He was poor. And he was going up the steps to the church, and he got to the top of the church, and the people said, "Where are you going?" He says, "I want to go in and accept Jesus Christ as my Savior." They said, "You can't come in here. This is for whites only." And they physically picked him up, a guy on each arm, and took him down the steps and set him down. That was when Gandhi looked at them and said, "You know what? If Christians were true Christians and lived their beliefs, all of India would be Christian overnight. But what we see time and time again is you don't. You don't. I don't have a problem with any of the religions. Okay, like I said, I'm not Catholics, Baptists, or Buddhists, or Protestant, or anything like that. Although I'm not against any of those, because they all have the teachings are good. It's the institutions, the people who are there that have kept me from becoming a part of any of that stuff. The Great Spirit has guided me well, and the Great Spirit says live in a good way. That's all you got to do. It's like do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That's it. But Pope Francis was a special pope because he strongly advocated all of his life, even before becoming pope, for the working people, the poor, the homeless, and the outcast. And since being pope, a lot of, especially a certain side of the aisle, he has pissed a lot of people off. But I'm sure that didn't matter to him, because his mission was the mission of following in the steps of his Savior, Jesus Christ. And I can't think of anyone who has followed that path closer than Pope Francis. When I first heard of him, I said, I wonder did he take his name from Francis of Assisi? Because if he did, he's got a lot to prove. If you know anything about Francis of Assisi, go look him up, because I don't have time to get into all of that. But I've always been a fan of him. And Pope Francis lived the life. I don't care whether you're Catholic or Baptist or Protestant or whatever. You know, they're all fine. Okay, they're all fine. But he lived and walked in the path of the person who he believed to be the Son of God. And he lived his life as that. He even refused to wear those special shoes that the Pope wore. He went against the grain of the popes before him. I don't know about John Paul. John Paul was pretty cool too. And one of the, he advocated for climate change, which of course there's a certain side of the aisle that really pissed off. And for the poor, the working, and even as a Catholic, he advocated for the gays and the LGBT and all of that stuff, because his take on it was, we're all children of God. We're all children of God, and we all deserve mercy, compassion, and a helping hand. We all need religion to lift us up instead of, I hate to say it, like some of them turn their backs on all of the teachings that Jesus Christ had, all of his compassion and the things that he stood for and spoke against and all of that. A lot of the churches, that's fine when they're in the church reading the book and the people are there, but as soon as the whole thing. I just call it hypocrites. So I just wanted to pay a special tribute to this man. And I've followed him closely. I've never followed a pope. In fact, most of my life, I make jokes about the popes. Well, I make jokes about everybody. But of course, I didn't leave the Pope side either. Sometimes they are hilarious. But this man, you had to take him serious. Because as I said, he lived and walked in the footsteps of Jesus. He walked in the footsteps of Jesus. He advocated for all of the things and all of the equality and the acceptance of all people. Today's Christian nationalists and all of those guys. In fact, I even heard certain of the Christian nationalists say that Jesus' greatest speech, which was the Sermon on the Mount, and I'm sure you've heard that too. They say he was wrong. He was woke. Okay, I think it's time for you to turn in your title of Christian, because Christian literally means. Now, the problem I have with religion is this. We can't describe God. We can't. It's beyond our comprehension. But we do have one symbol that we can use as an illustration of God. Now, I don't care if you disagree with me or not. This is my thing. Okay, I'm just going to explain it to you. The circle. No beginning, no ending. We can look at that as God. I love the indigenous concepts because the Great Spirit is the circle. But what organized religion have done is that they have taken God, the circle, and cut him up into slices like a pie. The Catholics have their slice, and the Baptists have their slice, and the Protestants and the Jehovah's Witnesses, and in Islam there's 3 or 4 different sects of slices, and the Hindus, and you could go on and on, but God is sliced up into pie slices, and everybody says that my slice is the way. Your slice is wrong, blah, 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 blah. That was what I like I said, I was in foster home. I grew up in Christian homes. And I was always a fairly obedient child. But when it came time for them to baptize me, I rebelled. I was just a young kid, but I rebelled. Because even back then, my attitude was, why am I going to go through this ceremony when I don't fully believe a lot of the stuff you guys are saying? I believe intensely in the teachings of Jesus Christ. And that's where it ends at. All of that other embroidery and all of those things, no. So I refuse to be baptized, and to this day I do. There's no reason for me to do something like that unless my heart is totally in the process. So I've treated all religions equally. I read their spiritual philosophies, and basically, besides for certain little inks here or there, basically they all say the same doggone thing. But I have never seen one of them that actually follow what they say they believe, like Pope Francis did. Now, like I say, I have known some Christians who are absolutely, my brother for an example, I didn't meet him till I was in my 60s or something, but he was a pastor for 45 years. We were separated when I was 9 months old. I didn't know any of my brothers and sisters until I was old. He was a pastor in Philadelphia for like 45 years. And getting to know him and how he is, I say he's a real, true Christian. And however, I know some atheists. My son's grandma in the front line of that, who I look at her and I say, she doesn't believe in Jesus Christ or anything like that. But the way she has lived her life, it's like my foster sister Clara, devout Christian. You couldn't find fault in her whole life. She always lived a life of compassion and caring, love for everyone. Well, so does my son's atheist grandma. And in my opinion, if there's a heaven, or as we say, the great hunting grounds, they both deserve to be there, the atheist and the devout Christian. And my attitude is, if there's a God that's going to let one of those people in who's lived, a life that you can't find fault in, and not let the other one in, I don't want nothing to do with that guy. I don't want nothing to do with that. But Pope Francis, the way one of his bishops spoke to a group of politicians that I don't have to do any names, but certain politicians swear up and down that they're Christian and prey on the Christian community as support. The guy can't quote anything from the Bible. You ask him about something for the Bible, he can't quote anything from the Bible, and nothing in let me put it, not him, nothing in their lives points to being a Christian. But when the bishop was reading out of the Bible and the words contradicted the policies of these politicians, when she finished, they were angry. They went online and called her vicious and a nasty lady and blah, blah, blah. Excuse me, if you are a Christian and she's reading from the Bible the words of Jesus Christ, how is she nasty? Because maybe some of the words of Jesus Christ goes against your policies. But anyway, that's enough of that. I just want to pay tribute to Pope Francis. I know that if there is a heaven, he will enter the gates of heaven, and all that would be said of him is, well done. Well done. And like I said, when I was so touched by his compassion for the poor and the homeless and immigrants and outcasts, the homosexuals and the whatever there is out there, all of the outcasts, because that was what Jesus was about. If you read about the man's life, of course he was. He would not be demonizing someone for their lifestyle. So I'm going to end this right now, but I'm telling you, I have never felt sorry when any pope died, or when any minister, preacher, or rabbi, or whatever died. But when I heard this morning that he had passed away, I knew he was ill, but he seemed to be getting better. And when I heard this morning that he had passed away, I felt a heavy cloud of sadness. Because I've said the religious world has lost a light, an uncompromising light. The man went against all of the politicians and billionaires and all of their beliefs. He championed climate change because he knows that we were put here to be caretakers of the earth, not to dominate the earth, not the money. People say money is the root of all evil, and we know that that's not the correct thing to say. The love of money is definitely the root of all evil. I mean, go way back to thousands of years ago. You see it, the gold rush era, and look what it did to people's minds. They killed people, they murdered people, they stole, going after wealth. And he spoke against all of that. And these days, the politicians are really willing to literally run over the poor and homeless people, and those ones of God's children that they are supposed to have compassion for. They'll run them over in a truck. So anyway, this is enough of that. I don't want to get off on a tangent, but I just wanted to pay tribute to Pope Francis. Like I said, when I heard he took the name Francis, I said, uh-oh, did he take the name of Francis of Assisi? Because if he did, he's got some huge shoes to fill. And he filled them well. He did, like I say, if he walks into heaven, I can't conceive of anything else being said but a smile, a nod, and say, my son, well done. This is Alligator in Alignment. I'm getting close. I've been keep saying this for many podcasts, but I just contacted my friend in New Jersey, Friday Night Designs, and we've already started into motion the things that I need to do to get more viewership through him. Go to his website, Friday Night Designs, and you can see that he can help you with anything you need to do with the media, websites, this or that, help you to, if you're doing a show like me, he can help you to get more viewership and stuff. I'm still preparing. I'm getting ready to go through all of my shows and take certain segments out that I want to put on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. And, if TikTok is around, I don't know. But any of those things, just to keep out there. And anyway, Friday Night Designs. If you're in Denver, Colorado in June, I'm very likely going to be at Randall's Club downtown. Randall's. I played there twice a year for 10, 15 years before the pandemic. And I'm returning in June. And remember, my love is Bonton Elroy's Lighthouse Smokehouse in Monterey. I think it's 174 Lighthouse Avenue, but just look it up on the internet. I'm there every second Saturday of the month, and it's been a struggle with the place, but finally people are getting to know that I'm there and know about the wonderful food that is prepared by Valentina. And the place has a whole, everybody who has started to come there regularly, they're all wonderful. They become like a family. I'm serious. If you can think of a restaurant and music place as a family, well, come in there. The second Saturday of every month, I hold court there. They have music on other nights too. I'm not sure who they have because I don't attend. So anyway, that's about it right now. This is Alligator in Alignment saying happy trails, and Pope Francis, well done. Happy trails.